Yep, so
Hi
it's live.
viewers, I am Ethan from One Guy's Guide to Good Reads, and welcome to our first ever Up All Night with CTP party. I am so excited to be your host tonight, along with three of the Clean Team Publishing's biggest shining stars. Tonight joining us, we have best-selling author Sherry Ficklin, aka the Queen of
Hello!
Everything. Say hi, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
All right. And then Japanese pop star, Mr. Jon Messenger.
Funny thing is, true story.
True story. And then the incredible Julie Wetzel is here with us also. Hello, Julie.
Good evening.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
Hi.
And you guys know me, I'm Ethan from One Guy's Guide to Good Reads. So before we get started, we're going to go talk some shop a little bit. So as you guys have read on Facebook and on the blog pages, we are going to have a huge amount of fun tonight. We've got a live Q&A with our authors here. We're going to be talking some publishing talk, some book talk, lots of fun going on, and we've also got a lot of giveaways to go on with there. So the easiest way we found to do this is we're going to do these via my blog page, so we can kind of refresh this live. So if you haven't yet, make sure you've gone to Facebook and liked One Guy's Guide to Good Reads. The comments, it'll be on the event page as well. What I'm going to do is we're going to have different threads for each giveaway. I'm going to have them numbered. We're going to leave the giveaways open for 24 hours, but some questions will be pertaining to what we talk about here, so make sure you're listening closely to some of their answers. We're just going to have some random questions for some giveaways for some ebooks, some signed copies, some audiobooks. I'm just going to randomly throw those out, and we'll make sure we let you guys know once those are up and ready. So let's get started, guys. What's going on?
Sweet. Nothing. Just the usual. Taking over the world.
Taking over the world.
Well, and if you guys have never been to a Google Hangout before, you know that you can use your question and answer box here. We have it on our sidebars on our computer. We will see you guys' questions live, and we will be able to answer them as they pop up. So if anybody's here, go ahead and throw a question in the box to say, hey, let us know that anybody can see this. Is there anybody watching right now?
It says we have one viewer.
We have one
Yay!
viewer. Hello, one viewer.
Hi, one viewer.
Please introduce yourself, one viewer, so we know that we're not talking to the
The
voice.
question box is down below.
Two viewers.
Down below for those of you watching on the Google Plus page. So you guys
Awesome.
can leave your questions down below.
So we're going to talk a little bit
too. We
about
can't
you
see the
guys
chat right now.
individually first. What? I'm sorry, Sherry, what?
I was just saying, so just so people know, we can't see the chat and the questions at the same time on our end. So use the questions even if you just want to leave a comment, because we can't have them both open. Because
Okay.
Google's not functional that way.
So I want to break this down so you guys know a little bit more about each of our authors. I'm going to start with Julie. Julie, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I can do that. I'm fairly new to the publishing writing thing world. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I have been published since 2014. I've been writing since 2011. I started writing when my sister joined the Navy. They got out to sea, and she got cut off from her internet, so she emailed me and asked me to send her stories. So I started writing her stories, and that's about it. From there, I started getting emails from some of her friends on ship where she had sent chapters, and them asking me to send them the rest of the stories. And that's how I got started.
Jules is being super modest right now. She has published how many books in this time period, Julie? How many books?
There are 5 novels in the Kindling Flames, which is the paranormal romance series. I have 4 novels in the Dragons of Eternity, which is a contemporary fantasy series. I have two short stories in print and a one going. It hasn't been published yet,
Awesome.
but it's in this process.
Well, here's some of Julie's books here. They are amazing, so make sure you guys definitely check them out if you're into the paranormal scene. Julie is actually the only one of us that is a Crimson Tree only, right, Jules?
Yes, I only have Crimson Tree,
Which is Clean Teens Adults and New Adult imprint.
Yeah. Where Sherry and Jon do YA, a lot of their stuff is young adult. All of my stuff is new adult to adult.
Awesome. And moving on, next we have got Jon Messenger. And Jon, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself as well?
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, hi, Valerie. We appreciate it. So I'm a displaced Brit. I was born in London, England. Not that you can tell from the amazing accent that I have. I'm actually an Army officer. I've been in the U.S. Army for almost 15 years now. But I got started writing actually while I was deployed to Iraq. I had a lot of downtime, apparently, when you're stuck there for 24/7. And so my first series was actually a science fiction series that I wrote while I was deployed. And then came back, took about a 3-year break from writing, and then miraculously, lucky for me, got linked up with Clean Team Publishing. And then the rest, as they say, is history. I've written 11 novels now, most recently working on the Magic and Machinery steampunk series.
Legit.
I'm ready.
So Jon also wrote the World of Flames series, one of my all-time favorites, and Jon is actually the reason I got involved with Clean Team Publishing almost 2 years ago now, so it's been a while. So I definitely have my entire Clean Team existence to thank to Jon, so I'm so excited to be able to share that. And lastly, we have our amazing Sherry Ficklin with us. Hello, Sherry.
Hi.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself that we don't already know about?
Well, I feel like the fact that I got to go last should tell you everything you need to know about me. No, I've been writing since 2000, young adult. I have a couple new adult out with Crimson, but mostly YA is my love. I love historical fiction. I love steampunk. Jon and I both have steampunk series, which are vastly different, and I actually like his a little bit better. I'm a little jealous that I didn't write those because I think they're fantastic. And I think that's about it. I'm just working on some more historical stuff now, probably best known for the Queen of Someday series. So Queen of Someday, Queen of Tomorrow, Queen of Always, which is my historical fiction based on the life of Catherine the Great of Russia. So I'm coming off of that kind of high, and now everything else is downhill.
Definitely not downhill. So Sherry, as she said, has written some amazing YA historic. YA history is my favorite. Her Queen of Someday, Queen of Tomorrow, Queen of Always series, probably one of my all-time favorite series, so we know that I love that. She also just is working off of her Hacker series, Playing with Fire, Digital Horizon, and what's the other one?
Into Deep. So it's Playing with Fire, Into Deep, and Digital Horizon, and there's 3 more yet to come in that series.
Yes, so we've got a lot more coming for Jon, Julie, and Sherry. Oh. Hi, Valerie. And all 3 of you guys were involved in last year's Twists in Time anthology from Clean Teen as well. Short stories here from several different Clean Teen authors. It's probably my favorite anthology that I've ever read, so these guys have a very, very vast array of writing talents. They write very, very different genres.
I legitimately have to throw something in about Twists in Time.
Go for it.
So I was actually the one that got that started for CTP, and there's a very interesting reason behind it. So my short story in there, I wrote for a different anthology about a year before Twists in Time came out, and then the company that was actually going to publish that anthology went bankrupt and completely DX'd their entire anthology. So I had this really great short story that I loved with no home for it whatsoever. And so CTP was going to be going to Utopia in Nashville, and the theme for that year was time travel, which happened to be the theme for my short story. And I actually convinced them to write a short story anthology with all the CTP authors just so I could find a home for my short story.
That is crazy. Wow. Yeah, and it's a pretty legit short story. I do believe it's free other places, but if not, you can sign up for Clean Teen's newsletter, and you do get this absolutely for free. So you want to make sure that you guys all sign up for that and get your hands on that. I'll put a link to that on the Facebook page. Now,
we should mention also that Utopia is where the 3 of us first met. We 3 authors connected at Utopia, not last year, year before last, I think, and caused havoc and made a ruckus of the place.
Yeah, it was not last year, but the year before.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything in
where
at that
we learned some very important things about each other, like the fact that Jon is a despicable human being who always wins at Cards Against Humanity.
True story. We also found out that the ladies of CTP are way more innocent than we are.
And that's the year that we learned how many books Julie can stack on her chest before her corset gives in.
I thought that was last
Yeah.
year. That wasn't the first year. Wasn't that last year?
Was that,
That
the
was
second
last year because
was
I
when I
didn't
was
run
there.
my course
Right,
in
it
the
was
first year.
last year.
I was
You
there
didn't
for that one.
the first year, did you?
That's how I
Which
got the
Ron
nickname
still doesn't
Bookshelf.
have a nickname.
So a couple years ago, we also found out that Sherry has an amazing hidden skill that doesn't really come out unless you have one of those little octopus sticker things.
Yeah.
A poor child lost a helium balloon up on the ceiling during Utopia, and she actually managed to tie one to a string and do this awesome cowgirl thing where she flipped it up and managed to catch the balloon with the sticky octopus. It was pretty amazing. I got a video of it.
That was hilarious. That was
amazing.
impressive. That was the year John and I got in trouble for playing catch in the Utopia vending hall.
True story.
Wow. So you guys have definitely got some fun stories of being together. So as they said, Julie, John, and Sherry got together for the first time at Utopia 2014. And then me, Julie, and Sherry got together at Utopia 2015, which was quite the experience as well. Julie, you want to tell them about how you ground me in the lobby of the hotel? That was pretty interesting.
That was amazing. No, I want to talk about Julie licking people's ankles after the awards ceremony.
Oh no, you're not going to tell that. Well,
Apparently they are.
no.
I'm pretty sure she already did.
Ooh.
Hey,
In her defense, it was just one person's ankles.
yeah.
Well, I feel like
It wasn't
ankle
mine.
is, that's ish. Anyway.
Well,
Wow, it looks like
she was
Becky's
sitting on
here.
the table,
Hi, Becky.
so that doesn't, I wasn't on the ground.
That's true.
Yeah.
We've got a question over in the question box. Ethan, can you see it?
Yes, Valerie is asking who will all be at Utopia 2017. I'm going to let you guys tackle this one. Jules, are you planning on Utopia 17, or what events can we find you guys at next year? Let's make that a little better. Change that question.
The only events that I currently have planned, I have for 2017, I have CoastCon in March, which is in Biloxi, Mississippi. I would like to get back to the Houston event, but I haven't signed up for it yet. And the only other ones that I have permanently set right now is the Denver Comic Con, and in what is that?
Father's Day
June.
weekend.
Father's Day weekend, and
we're all going to be at Denver.
Yeah, we'll all be in Denver, and Contraflow, which is in New Orleans in September. So as of my schedule, of the other cons, I really haven't taken a look at it because I'm not done with this year. I've got in August 20th, I'll be in Mississippi at the Mississippi Book Fair, and in October I will be in Dublin, and I'm trying to get through those to find out before I sign up for anything else.
Nice. John and I are doing Emerald City Comic Con next year. Is that right, John?
Yep, in March.
In March, and then Denver Comic Con, Father's Day weekend. All three of us will be there. And then the only other thing I have on my schedule right now is the Northern Texas Teen Book Festival. So, and that's in, I want to say that's in Dallas, and I'm not entirely sure when. I know it's over the summer. So
I unfortunately have a pretty labor-intensive day job that kind of keeps me from being able to do a lot of conventions that I'd like to do. But I'm going to be doing Emerald City Comic Con in March, Denver Comic Con in June, and then sometime next summer my family will be moving, and it looks like we'll probably be moving down to San Antonio. So I'm going to start looking at some of the Texas conventions.
There are definitely a lot down there. I know that for sure. 2017 is actually being planned as my vacation year since I've been so conference intensive for the last two. So Valerie, I'm not for sure if I'm for Utopia yet. It's still a little early in the planning periods, but I am making every attempt to be at Liz Long's Roanoke Author Invasion, and there was one other one, but that's kind of up in the air right now. So we'll see. It looks like we've got another question.
If Utopia ends up at a different hotel next year, it's
Yes.
a maybe for me. But I will not go back to the Millennium Maxwell Hotel, not for $1 million.
So it looks like here, where did that other question go? Sherry, do questions disappear?
No, very top. Currently answering.
Very top.
The one from Becky?
Yeah.
I can't see it. It disappeared. Do one of you guys want to grab that
It
question?
says, question
how are
of
you
the
getting
night.
with your?
Yeah.
Go
How are
on.
you getting your writing done between playing Pokemon Go?
Julie just got introduced to Pokemon Go. So, Jules, why don't you tell us about your Pokemon Go experience? Oh, also, are you Team Valor, Mystic, or what's the other one? Instinct?
Instinct. My
Instinct.
son, I started playing Pokemon Go as an encouragement to get my son to do things like eat his lunch and clean his room and be good. And he has not picked a team yet because I haven't had him out near a Poke gym to do so.
You're so bad at this.
And when I get stuck, when I'm done writing, because right now I'm in the middle of actually writing the sixth novel in the Kindling Flames series. And when I get stuck, I will get the Pokemon Go out and take a walk around my neighborhood to kind of clear my head. So yeah, I'm up to level 9, and I finally found my Snorlax. I was so excited about that.
Your spirit animal.
Sherry or
If I
John?
could,
have you guys
yeah.
playing yet?
Okay, so fun fact, my family had a funeral this past weekend for my father-in-law, who was fantastic, but
Yeah,
I
different.
learned
It's fun.
at that point that there are special Pokemon that you can only get in cemeteries, and it made the funeral way more fun than it probably should have been.
Wow.
Priorities, right?
I knew this was not going to be appropriate at all. I should have just, I don't even know what I was thinking. Didn't even think about it. So, John, what about you?
So I actually did download it because about 72 people I work with play it. But what I found is that I live in the middle of nowhere, and Pokemon don't like coming here.
Story of my life, John. Story of my life. So it looks like Becky says she's Team Instinct with level 12 with no Pikachu. Don't worry, Becky. I am on level 7, and I've been playing every day, but here in Nowhere, Missouri, there are also no Pokemon, so I'm not having a lot of luck on there, and I've got more Rattatas and Pidgeys that I know what to do with, but nothing else.
Chop them up into candy. Oh, wait.
Valor forever.
Anyway, so I did want to bring something up since we're on the topic of pop culture things right now. Sherry actually has a pretty interesting new addiction right now. Sherry, you want to tell everybody about your new addiction you're going through right now?
It's so bad. It's okay. So it's a website called Drama Fever, and it's full of just K-pop dramas, which are Korean pop dramas, which if you've never watched one, are very similar to like Spanish telenovela soap operas, only Korean and terrible, but also amazing. So I've been binge watching a couple. My favorites right now, I really like Dr. Crush, and I really like Uncontrollably Fond, and there's a couple that are just really addictive. So I'm neck deep right now. Like you have to watch something like 300 hours to get to like watch it in HD for free, and I'm almost there. So that should tell you something about. I'm kind of all or nothing with my obsessions. Like I either don't care at all or I'm like obsessed, and so that's where I'm at right now. What can I say? Korean gals are hot. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll let you have that one, Sherry. I don't. Yeah. John, me and you kind of share a current addiction in the form of our little plastic friends here. So what else have you got that you're currently addicted to right now?
That's pretty much the extent of it, and what unfortunately, so I hadn't been to a Comic-Con before until we all went to Denver Comic-Con this year, and it reignited the passion of my childhood. So I have restarted my comic book collection. What I've learned, though, is that when I was a kid, comic books were cool, but $3 was a lot of money, and now that I have a lot of disposable income, it's a very dangerous addiction.
For sure. For sure. And so we've already
I
seen.
would like to say that one of the other things we all got at Comic-Con was this little beauty right here. This is Pickles. He's my little glow-in-the-dark dragon. And Julie found him somewhere on the Comic-Con floor, and John and I went on like a 6-hour dragon hunt trying to find these little things. And Julie gives the worst directions ever. Like, like not even close to accurate.
In my defense, there were a lot of people at Comic-Cons, and I was not really paying attention to where I was. I mean, once I've been to someplace, I can take you back, but to tell you how to get there when there's like just booths and booths and booths is kind of a little bit on the difficult side.
Okay, so I would give you that, except that the booths are numbered in the aisles and lettered. So you could have been like A200.
I've got one better than that, actually.
We just lost a question up top, so I just want to make sure we're tracking that. Valerie was asking if we chose our publisher or if they chose us, and if we chose them, why?
Oh.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Why don't you start, Julie?
Well, I went to Crimson Tree Clean Tree Publishing when I started because I had not had any success in finding somebody to pick up Kindling Flames. Originally, the first 2 books were one manuscript, and it was like way too long for a regular book. So I kept getting turned down. So I found Holly Kelly's Rising, and I liked it. And at that point, I was looking for somebody to publish. So I sent it to them because it was something that was very similar to what I was looking for, and I had heard some good things about Clean Team Publishing. So I sent it to them, and they, as an unsolicited manuscript, and they asked me for my full, and Melanie liked it and said this was their vampire novel, so they picked it up. So yeah, that's how that worked.
Nice. For me, I had published with other publishers, and with varying degrees of happiness with the result of working with them. Some I really enjoyed, some I really didn't. But I had come across Rebecca and Clean Teen. Actually, I had another author friend who had published with them, and I was really concerned because the book that I was shopping at that time was Losing Logan, which is wildly, wildly not clean. And so I was sort of put off by the name. Like, I didn't know if they would even look at something that was, that level of maturity. So once I was able to talk to Rebecca, and she was like, the name is very deceiving in that we don't just publish clean books. We have the disclosure system, and that they took all varieties of books. And once I sent it, that we sort of bounced ideas back and forth about what we would do with it, and they just really sort of got it, and they really got what I was trying to do with it. So I was really lucky that they picked it up, because I know that they don't normally pick up standalones, and it was a standalone. So I was really fortunate to get sort of in the door with them. And then when the Queen series came around, I knew right away that I didn't want to take it to anybody else. I actually turned down agents that were interested in it to take it to Clean Teen.
So for me, I actually picked them and they picked me. So right around 2011, I was getting back into writing, and I had my science fiction series that I wanted to get re-edited. And so I actually found this editor named Cynthia, who had really competitive prices and did a really great job. And so she edited my series. And then a couple years later, I had finished another standalone science fiction book and was kind of in a quagmire of what I wanted to write. And she let me know, my editor let me know about this new company starting up called Clean Team Publishing. And they were doing an anthology for their start. And for their anthology, they had different types of stories they wanted, but the largest size they wanted was a novella, about 100 pages is what I wound up writing. And so my editor told me about it. I kind of blew it off. She brought it up again about a week before the suspense, and I was like, you know what? I can do this. I can write this in 1 week. And I did. I wrote Wind Warrior in about a week. And I turned it into them, and apparently they really loved it, and I won their novella competition. And so they offered me a contract if I was willing to turn it into a series, which I had no intention of doing. But they actually offered me a contract for it. I wound up writing the entire World of Flame series with them, and then they went back and they signed my science fiction, and then, of course, when it came time for my steampunk, I went ahead and signed that with them, too.
And we're all definitely glad they didn't just stop with Wind Warrior, because the series definitely got super awesome as it went on. So pumped that you wrote more of those. So Becky also asked another question on the side here. It was, which one has been your favorite book to write so far and why? So Sherry, why don't you start out with that one for us?
I already know Sherry's answer.
What is my answer, John?
Losing Logan.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, it's and he knows it's my favorite because I push it the hardest at conventions, because it's the one that of all my covers, I think it's a very nice cover, but it doesn't grab you quite like the Queen does. So it's one, but people are always like, okay, if I just read one of your books, which should I read? And it's like hands down Logan, because I had so many people, you know, like I laughed out loud writing it the whole time, and then at the end sound like a crazy person, and then people that read it have told me that they've done the same. You know, they've laughed out loud, and they've cried, and they've been sent home from work because people thought they were sick because they were crying so hard, and in a good way, and I just love it. I think it's probably the strongest thing that I've ever written, and I think that's partly because there's so much of myself and my friends in the characters. Like, it's so much based on people that I really knew in high school that it was very easy for me to write, and they were such an eclectic group anyway, and they know who they are. I already told them. They're all good with it.
John?
So mine is kind of mixed. My favorite book, the book that My Losing Logan, would be the only book that CTP has actually not signed of mine, which is called Rage. It's a standalone science fiction book. And basically it has everything going against it to get signed by CTP. It's a standalone, it's insanely violent, it's got tons of profanity, it's gritty, like it's totally unpolished. But it's also probably my funnest and my favorite book that I wrote, and honestly, some of the favorite quotes that I've ever written are in that book, and about 60 people know that because that's how many people have actually read it. What I've actually learned...
He does the same thing at conventions with Rage. He brings his stack, and that's the one that he tries the hardest to get everybody to buy because that's his favorite.
So I might have actually just convinced Mariah to do a new cover for me, because that's what puts most people off, is the cover is really out there. So I try to convince her to do a new one for me, so people will actually get interested in and buy it and realize that my stuff's awesome.
It is awesome.
It is awesome.
Jules, what do you got for us? What's been your favorite book to write so far, and why?
Honestly, my favorite book that I have had write is this one. It's, Granting Wishes, which is a short story for the Kindling Flame series. I have enjoyed writing all of my books, but this one was just fun. And it's my leprechaun story.
It's your dirty leprechaun story, and I love it. I love it. It's my favorite thing ever.
So that book actually encouraged my story with Julie and her horrible sense of direction. So one of the running jokes in Granting Wishes is about, that's the one with the waffles, right?
That's the one with the waffles.
Yeah. So me and Jules made a plan at Utopia last year to get up before everybody else, and we were going to go to Waffle House and get waffles before the conference started. We were going to get back and do all this other stuff. A quick trip to Waffle House turned into a 2.5-hour drive around Nashville to find a Waffle House and then get back. So that wasn't, you know, a very quick trip, but me and Jules definitely had a nice little road trip looking for a Waffle House while everybody else was looking for us the whole morning of the conference. I still haven't gotten over that story from Christina because we left her there that day.
I love that.
I don't regret
Rebecca
it.
says in the questions, Rebecca wants us to let everybody that's watching on YouTube right now know that if you're watching streaming on YouTube, you can't ask questions via YouTube, so you have to log into the Google Plus to ask questions in the question bar. So I'm sorry, YouTube and Google, while friends, are clearly not in a committed relationship because it doesn't offer the same functionality. So you have to go to the Google Plus to be able to be in the questionnaire.
Friends, no benefits.
Yay! I'm
So we
posting
have
the
a
link on
question
Google.
from Trinity over here.
So yes, it looks like Trinity does have a question. She says, what made you guys want to be a writer in the first place? John, why don't you take this one first for us?
So I actually started writing in college, and it was for none of the reasons that everyone thinks. So I've always enjoyed telling stories. It's always kind of been my thing since I was in high school, since I was younger. I love telling stories, and it was always a verbal thing. But while I was in college, I realized that I was a really bad college student. And there was a very good possibility that I was not actually going to finish college. In fact, it took me 5 years to get my 4-year degree. And so I actually started writing because I had this sick thought in my head that if I finished a book, I would totally make millions and millions of dollars, and that would totally justify the fact that I was about to drop out of college. So that's actually how I got started, and luckily I wrote about 100 pages in a novel, and I sent it to my mom, and I told her, I was like, just hold on to this. I'm sure I'll come back to it at some point. She told me later that if I had asked her to reread it and paid her $5 to do it, she would have bought an overpriced cup of coffee and then thrown the manuscript in the garbage because it was absolute crap.
Dang, that is cold. That is harsh.
She did become one of my beta readers later, though, and actually when I sent her the science fiction stuff, she was really nervous because she thought it was going to be just as bad and was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't bad.
Nice. Julie, what about you?
Well, as a writer, I had no intention to ever write anything. I'm slightly dyslexic, and I have a love-hate relationship with the English language. But in 2011, my sister got into the Navy, and when they got out to ship, she's the reason that I started writing. Originally, I wanted to study volcanoes, so yeah, pretty much the only reason I started writing was because my sister wanted stories while they were out at sea, and once I got started writing, I just didn't give up. That's why I'm here.
It's addictive. Once you get that first hit of writing something, and especially if you then publish something, there's no going back from that. I see people sometimes they're like, oh, I'm going to quit writing, and I'm like, what is the matter with you that you would do that? What other job could you possibly get that would be better than being a writer? That's crazy talk to me.
I can't think of any.
For me, I'm just a control freak. I love reading books, but I don't like not being able to control how they end. So when I started writing fan fiction because I liked rewriting the ends of other people's books. And eventually my husband got really ticked off, and he was like, would you please just write something you can frickin' sell and make some money on? So that's what I did.
Nice. So on that same boat, before we go any further, I just want to remind everybody that we've got the giveaways going on over on my blog Facebook page. I've actually posted the first 4 giveaways so far. So I've already posted a giveaway for a swag pack, for an ebook copy from Julie, a signed book from Sherry, and an ebook set from Jon. So make sure if you're watching, you're over on my Facebook page, refreshing that to reload so you make sure you can get in for those giveaways as well. But my next question for you guys is, what are you currently reading? I know that a lot of times authors don't get a lot of time to read, but what was your current read or what was your last read? And tell us a little bit about it. Julie, start us out.
I am reading, gosh, I'm trying to remember what it was. It had something to do with squirrels. What is it? Give me just a second, I will remember.
We'll come back to you, Jules. Jon, what about you?
So
I think Jon just disappeared.
No, I was looking on the bookshelf real quick. So I've actually been reading the Magician series. I don't know if you guys actually got to watch the TV show, but it kind of piqued my interest and I wanted to read the books. So unfortunately, I've been reading book 2 for about 3 months now and haven't made much progress. Not because it isn't good, just because I haven't had much time.
Nice.
Gotcha, Sherry. What about you?
So one of the best perks about being an author is that you can seriously go and request advanced books from other authors, and you get to read them way before anybody else. So I grabbed this one with the help of Nerd Girl, who's amazing, helping me out get this at a certain age. And I'm very into the 1920s right now because I just finished my own novel, The Canary Club, which is kind of set in the 1920s. And so I'm just kind of immersing myself in all things 1920s right now. I just reread The Great Gatsby, which I friggin' hate. And I don't know why I do that to myself, but I really don't like that book at all. But this was actually quite good. So when this comes out, and it comes out very soon, I think, you guys should pick this one up. It's very good.
All right, Jules, what do you got for us?
Squirrel Bait, Chip's Dollar Dreadful Books, Chip Davis is what I'm currently reading. It's as far as I can tell, it's a paranormal. I'm only halfway through it, and it is fantastic. It's funny. The lady's a librarian, and she's only worried about books, but she's also a were-squirrel.
Interesting.
It is hysterical, and people that have been hurting her books start dying, and they're trying to figure out who's doing it.
Julie said where squirrel just as I took a drink of Pepsi, and it just almost came out my nose. That was fantastic.
But it is.
Ooh, that would have been a show.
Yeah, that's interesting for sure. I'm actually in the middle of Valerie Rosler's first book in her Helio trilogy, Midnight Divine. About halfway through it. It's really awesome, so you guys definitely should check that out. But mine's a little different because I just blog, so I don't do anything but read. I don't do the writing like you guys do. But I know we're getting into this a little far here, so I want to make sure we touch on some of the things that we wanted to hit. So we've got taking a few questions here. Make sure you guys are still putting your questions in. We're going to start hitting on some publishing things here. So there's a lot going on in the publishing world right now, and you guys are right in the middle of this, working with both traditional publishers. You've worked with indie publishers. You've done your own things. So we've really got a nice mix of you guys knowing a little bit about all the facets of the publishing industry. So a couple of things here. Sherry brought to our attention this new Harper Legends contract stuff. Sherry, since you seem to know the most about that, why don't you tell us a little bit about that and why we should be concerned?
I don't think necessarily concerned as much as just informed. It's you have these great publishing houses, the big five now. I believe there's five now, and sort of the penultimate goal as an author is to be in with one of these larger publishing houses because they have so many resources and they can do so much for your career. It's sort of a different level maybe than even working with some of the smaller press or indie. But you really need to be careful because what they're doing now is they're starting a lot of imprints that are digital first or digital only, and those imprints are the sort of the bastard children of the actual parent company, and they're not necessarily getting that that marketing push and that sort of attention that they get with their other lines. So Harper Legend, and I haven't worked with them, I don't know, I just saw their submissions online and some of my agent friends had come out sort of saying, why the hell would you ever sign a deal like this when you could just self-publish? And they still do some of the basics. They do the editing. They do the cover art. I don't know how much of a marketing push they actually make, but it is ebook only at first. And then after a certain amount, they have an option to take you to POD, which I think is terrible. I'm really anti-POD unless you're self-publishing because POD... yeah, you have print books available, but they're still not available in stores, which is sort of the difference. POD is generally not returnable. They don't stock in the warehouse, so like Barnes & Noble doesn't carry them, stuff like that. So I think that you just really need to watch out because you see a lot of these publishing houses doing this right now, and there's always that lure to be like, oh, I want to be a Simon & Schuster author, or oh, I want to be a HarperCollins author, and so you kind of go in these back doors, but that doesn't necessarily mean the sort of success that you would expect with being with a publishing house like that. And realistically, I don't think the deals that you get there are any better than deals you get with smaller publishing houses like Clean Teen Publishing and stuff who do a really good job. They know their place in the market. They know how to sell books in their market. And they really want their authors, they want success for their authors as opposed to just sort of ebook farming, which is what I feel like a lot of publishing houses are doing right now, is they're just kind of scooping up bulk ebooks, putting them out very quickly and not giving them the sort of attention that they deserve to make them really successful. So it's just a thing to keep an eye on more than anything. Just watch your contracts and know that the industry's changing every day. You see these new things every day, so you just have to watch out for yourself.
Gotcha. Yeah, this was definitely new info for me. I didn't know anything about this. And on top of blogging, I also work within the agency side of things, the publicity side of things. So this is huge news for the industry just as a whole. So definitely something we want to be aware of. The next big thing we've seen, and this is something that I have been seeing everywhere, I work pretty much primarily with indie authors these days, is this new Barnes & Noble self-publishing, this new Barnes & Noble self-publishing initiative. Sherry, I think that you're probably one that knows the most about this one as well. So hit us with what you know on that one real quick.
That's terrible. I'm on the blogs all day reading about this crap. So Barnes & Noble, the procedure for getting a print book into Barnes & Noble has either been you have to be with one of the big five publishers who does that for you, or have a publisher like Clean Teen. Clean Teen's in Barnes & Noble. They have a traditional distributor who does all that for them for their print stuff. But as an indie author, as a self-published author, your books are usually POD, or you pay to have a print run done, and then you have to apply to the Barnes & Noble small press department for placement in store. And they're really pushing this right now as, oh, look at us, we're so indie friendly, and you can apply, and now you can be in stores, and it's still not any more true than it ever was. Like, they're still going to tell you no 99.99% of the time. I just had an author friend of mine who's a New York Times best-selling author who is self-published, and her books are amazing, and they still refused to put her in stores just because her books are indie published and not traditional published. So they're trying to act, I think, like they're being more accepting of the indie stuff, but it's the same program they've always had that's still not really functional or really kind to independent authors.
Gotcha. So yeah, that was something that I knew a lot of authors were buzzing about, so I'm glad we got a little bit more insight on that one. Yeah, definitely some big changes. So our other questions I've got for us, guys, are just more broad questions here. I know we've got a lot of people who are up-and-coming authors or aspiring authors. I've actually been contacted by a couple today. They had questions for me for you to ask you guys, such as the biggest one here. Let's start with John. What advice do you have for an aspiring author?
The biggest thing for me, so I started off doing science fiction and then really started branching out from there to the new adult series that I did for World of Flame, now the steampunk. And what really got me there was when I was in a slump and couldn't figure out what I wanted to write next or how to really get into my next book, I started doing some anthologies. And not only are anthologies good because they're short stories, so you're not committed to a 400-page novel, but at the same time, I also intentionally went out of my way to try to find some anthologies that were not in my wheelhouse. Try to find some genres that were definitely not something that I was comfortable writing, but writing is a muscle, and that's what writers say it all the time, that if you don't practice, if you don't keep using those muscles, you're going to lose them, and then by the time you finally get back into writing, it's rough. So doing these anthologies, forcing myself to write outside my comfort zone, I think really improved my writing style. And then by the time I was ready to start writing, Wind Warrior and the World of Flame series, I felt a lot more comfortable getting out of my comfort zone and writing something new.
For sure, absolutely. Julie, what about you? What kind of advice do you have for an aspiring author?
Just keep going. Doesn't matter what you're writing. If you get into a habit of doing it daily, give yourself 10, 15 minutes to sit down, longer if you can, and just get in a habit of putting words down on paper, on the computer. If you find that you're sitting in front of your computer and you're playing on something else, move. Find yourself a coffee shop, take your computer, and use that time to write, or switch media. Go get off from the computer, go to pen and paper, go to, every now and then when I get stuck, I will break out my phone and use the word processor on my phone to do it. And sometimes just changing location or your surroundings or the media in which that you write on will spur ideas and will break things loose if you've been in a slump. And if you really, really can't do it, take a nap. Try it again when you're awake. Because that's how I get over it.
Gotcha. So another question I have, so say you've written your book, you've got it all polished, you're ready to take it to a publisher. What advice do you guys have on the decision between going indie or traditionally published? Can you guys offer any insight for that? I know there's a lot of authors that are kind of hanging in limbo with what they've got their finished book and what to do next. Sherry, you want to hit on that first for me?
Sure. And I think it varies depending on the project, depending on your personal preferences, how much control you want to have. I always tell people, don't rush into self-publishing. Just because I'm a big proponent of self-publishing, it can be done right, it can be done really well, but it's also a lot more work, and it's just you. So without having any experience in the industry with things like marketing and publicity, I think you're at a disadvantage going into self-publishing. So I think if you, at least early on, are working with a team and you can kind of learn those ropes, I think that's probably my preferred way to do it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the way to do it for every book or for every author. It absolutely depends. Really quick, I want to touch on Valerie's question over here. She says that she's been getting calls from a company called Page Publishing about publishing her. I think the big things you need to watch out for a publishing house are anybody that asks you for money. is a big red flag, because money should always go to the author and not the other way around. If they're asking you to pay anything, that's a big red flag. If they're asking you to co-publish, I know I've seen a lot of them saying that, which is basically they take a percentage of costs and you take a percentage of costs, and that's crap. Anywhere that's not offering you professional editing is crap. And really also keep an eye out for anybody that pays their people in percentages of your royalties. So I know a lot of companies, especially smaller companies, will say, oh, well, your cover artist is working based on a percentage of what you make, and your editor's working on a percentage of what you make. And while theoretically that sounds like, oh, yeah, we're a team and everybody's invested in making it a success, what it really does is it muddies your rights. If that publisher then goes under, who owns the cover and who owns the rights to the actual work, because the editor worked on it too, and it becomes a really dangerous minefield for an author. So those are things to keep in mind when you're publishing. My 2 cents.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, I'm not seeing the questions over here, so if there are any, you guys scream them at me or something.
The only question that I see is, have any of you heard of Page Publishing? Can I get calls from them all the time, but I haven't answered because I've never sought them out.
That's another big red flag. If somebody is calling you to publish your work and they haven't actually seen your work, that's a problem. Just say no. I'm going to Barbara Bush you guys. Just say no.
There's also a great website out there that's called Editors and Predators, where you can go out and look for, put the name of the publishing group in that particular website, and it will give you, like, reviews on it and, you know, what to be aware of. It was one of the things that I used very heavily when I started looking for a editor and a publisher, because I started out with one of these vanity presses. I had gone, and I don't remember which one it was, but I had sent in information to get, and they make you like send in a portion of your manuscript before they will send you stuff. But I'm still getting emails from them going, oh, do you want to publish this manuscript with us? And I have not talked to them since 2013. So that's something to do. Look at. Anybody else? I got one from Rebecca that says, what are the projects you are working on right now? And John, what are you working on?
So I took a break from writing because my wife and I are both in the military and she was deployed. So I was a single parent for a while, so I took a break. But I'm now getting back into working on book 4 in my steampunk series. This originally was going to start off as a trilogy and somehow has turned into the Wheel of Time. So now I'm planning 15, 20 books in it, so it's going to take forever.
I'll read all 20. That's amazing. I'm excited for those. Those are some of my favorites that Clean Team does. I love steampunk anyway, and so with the monsters, you totally had me. I love it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now, Sherry, you've got some pretty interesting projects coming up. You already mentioned Canary Club, and I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you that I've already beta read it, and it was amazing. Can I say that? Can I say that?
Oh.
It was amazing. Probably my favorite thing she's written to date, and that's a big thing.
So weird. It's a standalone, and so it's not going through Clean Team, which is kind of weird for me because I've been working with Clean Team for so long now. To be having it with someone else is really strange. And I actually got an agent for the first time last year, and so this book is for her to sort of take and do her agenty witchcraft with. So I'm not sure where it's going, but to have finished it and then not immediately hand it to like Rebecca over at Clean Team was really messing with my head. So I'm rushing now into a new project for Clean Team I'm really excited about. I do have the Extracted book that's re-releasing through Clean Team this year, which is the first of my steampunk series, and they already have books 2 and 3 out. But I'm starting on a new Queen prequel series that I'm really excited about that's going to take place in advance of the Queen of Someday books with Empress Elizabeth of Russia. So I'm really excited to do that. I mean, if you thought Catherine the Great's life was crazy and twisty, you have no idea what you're in for with Elizabeth, really.
Awesome. Well, Guys, I've got 2 questions coming to us from Facebook from Kelly Martin, who is also an author. I believe you guys know who Kelly is.
Yes.
She's also a utopian. Kelly's first question is, what has been a memorable fan encounter?
Julie.
Jon, you want to start that one?
I want Julie to tell the story about the donut.
Oh, Julie, go.
Okay.
That's what's
So we were
happening.
in. This is going to happen. So we were in. Let me put the little cephalopod down. In Denver, and Sherry and Jon had gone off to do the things Sherry and Jon do when they're not at the table. And I had a nice lady that was sitting with me by the name of Amanda, and we were sitting there talking. And I have never been to Colorado. I didn't know anything about out there. And she yells out, "Voodoo Donuts," because this guy is walking by with these pink boxes, and I have no idea what they are. And he comes over, and they're talking about Voodoo Donuts, and I'm like, okay. And he's just like, "What you gonna give me?" She wanted a donut, so she's like, "What you gonna give me?" And I'm just like, "I'll give you a book." And he's just like, "Okay." And he gave him a donut, and I gave him a little book, and we got to talking, and the book was going to go to his daughter, who was at that time 16 months old, 18 months old, a very young child. And I'm just like, well, that's not going to do her any good. And so I gave him I do these little stuffed dragons, which he's back there. Do these little stuffed dragons, and I gave him a dragon for his daughter. And we got to talk, and he bought a book, and I gave him the second book because I really like to get to have those first 2 books together, because the first one does end on a cliffhanger, and I like them to have that full story. So I gave him a second book, and he's just like, "Well, because you gave me the dragon and you gave me the second book, I'm going to give you my donut." And it was a very
Phallically shaped is what I'm gonna go with.
big.
Huge.
Yeah, it was something in balls, and it was filled with cream, and it was covered in chocolate, and it was literally, I swear this donut was like that big. And they came back the next day, and after he had given his mother-in-law I had given him this one. And he came back the next day and said that his mother-in-law had gone through granting wishes, and he loved it, and he brought us more donuts from Voodoo Donuts, which apparently is one of the greatest donut shops in Denver.
Well, clearly it's the only donut shop in Denver where you can get a giant donut shaped like a penis to give to somebody at Comic-Con, which was fantastic, by the way. I just got a regular donut with like Oreos on it. She gets this giant friggin' phallic donut, which was fantastic. I have pictures of you eating that donut, by the way, so don't ever run for public office.
Sherry's really bad at blackmailing people, and you can see, guys, there is no clean in Clean Teen, apparently, at all. Like, out the window. Oh. So, Jon, what about you? What's a memorable fan experience you've had?
So I always tell the ladies when I go hang out with Julie and Sherry on these different cons that realistically I'm just riding their coattails, and the only reason that my banner gets put in between them is because I got the taller stand. So to make it balance, I have to go in the middle, and that's probably my way of usurping their power. But I've had a couple times now where people come up and they're like, "Jon Messenger, I think I've heard of you before," and I'm like, "No, I'm pretty sure you're wrong." But while we were down at Denver, I actually had a guy come up, and he walked up to the table, and I thought he was just going to look at the book, so I was getting ready to give my spiel. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I actually just finished reading the 3rd book in your Magic and Machinery Steampunk series, and I'm really interested to find out about the 4th one." And it honestly, for me, because again, I'm writing their much more successful coattails, for me to actually go, "Oh wow, no, seriously, you've actually read this? Like seriously? Like I want to hug you right now. Like let's just stop talking and let's just hug this out."
I'm pretty sure that he did hug that guy, and I'm pretty sure there's a restraining order now.
Ouch. Anyway, Sherry, what about you? What's a memorable fan experience you've had?
I almost tackled somebody in the airport once. I had just come through security at the airport, And so I'm at the end of the security line putting my shoes back on, and I see a lady over in the chairs, and she's reading Queen of Someday. And I freak out, and I scream, "That's my book!" And she looks around like I'm accusing her of stealing the book. Like, she's not quite sure what's happening. So I have to go over that and explain to myself that I wrote the book. And she was so, like, flustered that she didn't ask me to sign it. And I was really hoping she would, and she definitely didn't. Like, I think I just terrified the poor person. And so now I'm like, I have to be really cool about it. Like, oh yeah, that's my book. I totally wrote that book. While inside, I'm like screaming like a fangirl. It's bad.
Sherry always has the most interesting stories. I don't know why she didn't tell this fan story, but I remember after the awards at Utopia last year, she was maybe attacked by a woman in the bathroom about her books.
Okay, that's true. That did happen. I was accosted in the bathroom, but I didn't freak her out. Like, she freaked me out, so I felt like that was a different dynamic. I had never been freaked out by somebody before who had read it. But yeah, so she's like, I'm in the stall actively peeing, and she's like, knock, knock, are you that author that wrote the Queen books? I love this book. And I'm like, that's great. I'll totally hug you after I wash. Like, let me wash my hands. And then it was a thing. It was great.
Yeah, I wondered why she was taking so long in the bathroom. We were waiting to go to the after party. So this was interesting story night, that was for sure. Now, our second question from Kelly is another writing story. So how long does it generally take you guys to finish writing a story from start to finish? So the whole process. Julie, you want to start that out for us?
Well, apparently it only takes John a week. What the hell, John?
It depends. I have done some stories in the first Kindling Flames series because I was writing it for my sister. I was sending her chapters daily of like 3,000 to 5,000 words, and I was writing these daily. So it only took like 2 months to do the entire 180,000 word manuscript. But this particular one, recently it's taken me a lot longer because I'm not writing as much in the day, even though this is my full-time job now. I've got other things going on with the conventions and with school. I do the Cub Scouts here locally in my area, and it's just there's so much more that it's taken me longer. I've actually had to force myself to sit down, and it's been with the conventions and all, it's taken me probably about 6 months to get this particular one out, but I've also stopped and done like little short stories in there too. So how long it takes just depends on how I feel that day.
John, what about you? I know you said, earlier we talked about this a little bit, but what else do you got for us?
For me, roughly 12 years. No, when I'm following Julie's advice and actually sitting down every day and forcing myself to do that writing, I guess a couple years ago was probably my peak. I wrote about 4 books that year, but that's really pushing it for me. So realistically, about 4 to 5 months each book.
And Sherry, what about you?
Mine tends to depend on genre. I wrote Logan in 30 days, not quite, but it has taken 5 months for Canary, start to the edits. So it just kind of wildly varies. When I sit down to write, I average between 5,000 and 10,000 words a day, but I also only write 4 days a week. So it just sort of depends on my time, and convention season, everything slows down, and I always take a hiatus during the summer when my kids are home for break. Where I'll do editing and stuff, but I don't do actual sit down and finish a story writing until they're back in school. Because if I tried, I don't know if you've ever tried to do anything while you have kids in the house, but it's kind of like eating a bag of Oreos while brushing your teeth. It's pointless and useless, and it's just a mess. And that's how my life is all summer long. So.
Gotcha. So, guys, it actually looks like we've hit our hour, so we're going to need to start wrapping this up here. Are there any questions here on the side that you guys are missing that I'm not seeing that we can answer real quick?
Nope, we're clean.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
guys,
okay.
it's been awesome. Looks like we've covered a lot. Now, guys, I know we've been posting the giveaways as we go, so I've got 10 giveaways posted on my blog page. That's facebook.com/OneGuysGuideToGoodReads. I'm going to put the link for that on the Google Plus page and in a comment on the Facebook or YouTube page. We've decided we're going to leave these giveaways open for 24 hours, and we've got our grand prize giveaway to give out that we are going to include signed books from the authors and swag packs for this year. We will definitely be picking our grand prize winner based on tonight's participants, and we'll make sure we announce that on the group page as well. So we definitely appreciate you guys all coming out for this. Do you guys have any closing remarks, anything you want to bring up, anything we might have missed for your fans tonight?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you guys are just awesome, and thank you so much for watching and commenting and questioning and being wicked cool.
John, any closing remarks?
Yeah, I would say if you guys get a chance, if you guys make it out to either Emerald City Comic Con or Denver Comic Con, especially because all three of us will be there this coming year, if you can make it out there, make it out there. All the fun that we have during these is multiplied tenfold while we're there. We play card games at night and other fun-filled games, trying to make people guess the word maliciously.
Maliciously.
Maliciously!
Maliciously!
And seriously, I know for Denver, we had private meet and greets with Stan Lee. We went to an after party hosted by John Barrowman. Like, we are there to have fun, and we will have fun with you. So if you guys ever take a chance to make it out, legitimately, come out and meet us in person. We will we'll hug it out.
Yes.
Jules, what you got for us?
It's been great having y'all here. Thank y'all for your questions. Make sure you get over to his book page and enter those giveaways. But if you can make it out to an event, we do have a lot of fun. So come visit us because we like to see you.
And for all of you guys who can't make it to events, John, Julie, and Sherry are three of the best social media conscious authors that I work with. So make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Sherry posts a lot of inappropriate things on our Twitter, so you may want to make sure you're there for that. Jules has lots of randomness, and so does John. So make sure you're there for all of that. We do have a lot of fun online, and every when we get together, it's always a pleasure to get to see these guys. And it's been a great honor being able to host you guys here tonight. So thank you to all of our readers, viewers, the fans who showed up tonight. Make sure you enter those giveaways. Go like their pages, get their books, reach out to us if you guys have any questions, and we look forward to doing this again sometime soon.
Thank you all.
Sweet. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.